amongst the rest of Obey's roster right now with being able to match the contributions from Bosco and Maman, and they both showed up big when need be. Now, Capitao has seen a lot of usage on Consulate.
Yeah.
Time and time again. There are a number of teams, especially in North America, who will bring the Brazilian operator because he offers so much versatility. As you noted, a Glaz combined with a Capitao is a scary thing. Glaz, if he goes unbanned, sees a lot of play on Consulate. It's in Obey's hands right now on the second attacker ban. A Lion does seem pretty standard, but it's not a given with the fact that Capitao was taken off the board. That might throw a wrench in Obey's plans, but they were the team that banned Lion last time, and well, it took them a little bit longer to arrive at that conclusion, but the conclusion will still be the same. So a Capitao will join a Lion, which means that Glaz will still be on the board, and Ying, who had gone banned from Elephant Gang last time around.
I mean, I like in a way that Elephant Gang forced them to leave Glaz open again by banning first with Capitao, because they banned an operator that both teams were willing to use, right? I mean, yeah, obviously both, the Glaz gets a bit more use from the Capitao, but at the same time, it's something that Obey needed as well. So by taking that off the board and then forcing them to have to do the Lion ban, still again left Glaz in their favor. Oh, of course, that means Blackbeard as well. So you have the ability to play a lot of window play on this. Echo is going to go, but Mira manages to stay, which this is a map where I don't think that matters as much as some others. But Pulse being gone should be interesting coming out from Elephant Gang there. That is going to counter some of the players on this team because I'd say quite a few of them will regularly play Pulse, whether it be Skies or we saw Benji playing it earlier as well. I feel like there's a few different players that will even rotate onto it as needed. That is definitely going to be the top 4 bomb site. Maybe, I'd say a little less defendable in a way because you've got the window play potentially by something like a Glaz, and then the inability to defend it from below without that Pulse. However, of course, Obey are on attack first, so we won't know whether or not we'll see that Glaz. Again, I don't think they're likely to run it. They are going to run one DMR, though, and Benji with the Dokkaebi. That gets 6th picked off, of course. I had a feeling that was going to happen, but he's going to be the one to run that Blackbeard, and I always find that a little disappointing to see anyone but Bosco playing that, just because, I mean, that's not to say that other people aren't capable on it, but Bosco is quite the beast on that Blackbeard. However, he's also been very strong on Zofia, so it's not a huge loss or anything, but it is always interesting, too, on this map to see. We were talking about hard destructors and the lack of them coming from Elephant Gang and the Hibana coming out from Obey. This is a map where you kind of have to take Thermite even a lot of times when you don't need him, and that puts a lot of teams at some disadvantage when they cannot predict what the bomb site will be. Later rounds, not as big a deal because you can sometimes anticipate whether or not you need Thermite. But the first couple, it's a tough spot to be in because you have to give up what could potentially be another very strong utility attack operator. Now, instead, you've got to bring Thermite.
Yeah, there have been a couple teams that have been able to successfully attack every site here without bringing a hard destructor. You know, there's Evil Geniuses very infamously attacked Consulate a couple weeks ago back in North American Pro League without bothering to bring a hard breacher. They brought a Hibana for one round, but that was all she wrote for hard destruction. Now, it's definitely doable, but I think it takes a lot of concentration and a lot of coordination to make sure that you're pulling off the strat and it's not falling apart. It needs to be a little bit more robust than what we typically see, which is take Thermite, open Garage, finito for hard destructor. There needs to be more than just a singular focus there, or else you end up putting yourself at a major disadvantage because you need all the tools at your disposal to be able to open up, usually server and attack through the staff area, which is typically what we see at teams that don't bother to run with a hard breacher. But for those that do, a Thermite is always a must because you always have that Garage looming in the distance, and for teams that don't have strats based around anything but taking that Garage, a Thermite is required.
And I think that's something that teams maybe need to work on in the future just because the big disadvantage I was just talking about that you end up in if you cannot just play with Hibana instead. But there is a little bit of pressure coming here from a lot of different angles, forcing someone like my man, after taking a little bit of damage, to have to play this differently. Nice grenade, but they're losing a lot of their outside pressure because Elephant Gang's doing a good job pushing them back from a lot of these spots. Obviously, they do have the mirror this time to be able to peek more confidently in certain angles, to be able to put pressure on, because, of course, without... and again, this is another reason why the Hibana is a good pick, because... yeah, they're not running a Bandit or a Mute. There's nothing to stop you from taking out those mirror windows with a Hibana. You're definitely not going to do it with a Thermite.
Yeah, and, you know, seeing a mirror on Consulate is... not strange, but this is one of the few maps where you usually see a Valkyrie or a Pulse possible ban. You'll see a Maestro or an Echo get banned. You'll see a Clash possibly get banned here as well. Those are usually operators that take out strategic bans, and Mira oftentimes will go unbanned. For Obey, there's a bit of consistency in the way that they ban. You're expecting Obey to possibly ban a Lion or an Echo or a Maverick or a Clash. Those have been most of their bans against most teams over every single game that they've played, be it in USN or be it in other levels of play. So unfortunately, a disconnect for Trippin. That is ill-timed.
Well, one defender down.
And they're going to lose their Mira, so C4 is off the board. We'll see if he can reconnect at some point, but Neptunes will make up for it. Almost gets a double. He's still going to find his team now battling from behind, but it's problematic as down goes Bosco. K9 holding the angle with this pistol, and he's going to go for broke, but man will be able to shut him down, waiting to see if someone's going to dive on Bosco using the Zofia as bait.
Well, I like the idea of using the bailiff like that because you usually see it smoke do it, but Bosco is just tearing through them on the yellow stairs, and it's all on Ghost here because Trippin is gone. He's been doing a good job holding us off, but unfortunately he's not going to pull a Bosco because, of course, Bosco going to be one to shut him down. Yeah, Bosco huge in that round. Big in game number 1, and he has shown up, I think, more than they had anticipated. Obey clobbering Elephant Gang on a pretty good attack here on Consulate. Now, Trippin is back in, so there will be no need to rehost. But unfortunate for Elephant Gang, they lose that plant denial with the C4. They lose the Vector being able to take close-range fights. You saw that the smoke had to rotate over to Connector, which is not a great place to be with the way that the SMG-11 has been changed. And for those that are curious, the sidearm SMGs, you're looking at the Bearing 9 on Hibana and Echo. Yep. You're looking at the SMG-11 on Sledge and on Smoke. Well, and one way they could have been playing it as well as been playing it on the yellow stairs. We see a lot of really good smoke plays on the yellow stairs because of the shotgun on that corner. But that's why I like that K9 was trying to do the same with the Bailiff, but the damage is just not there. That almost ends up as more of a utility shotgun sometimes, similar to the ITA, just because it is not going to pound out a ton of damage compared to the pump, because the pump is just... the shotgun from Smoke is such a killing machine, especially in the hands of players like Slash, for example, that are very, very strong on the shotgun being more of an actual primary for them as opposed to the SMG-11. Whereas I feel like Bosco has definitely leaned a lot more to the SMG-11 and just tried to adjust for the recoil changes. It's going to be a bit of a mixed bag here between the Smoke plays because of that. But at the same time, Ghost playing upstairs, while he was doing some good work, the fact that they lost Trippin kind of forced him to have to play a position that I think he could have been better playing elsewhere. Yes, and I mean, usually Smoke's position will be inside a projector, which is referred to as an official call meeting hall. It's where the balcony is, and it's just on the lower part of your screen with the bomb in it. There you go, it's being drawn attention to. You can actually see the wall half reinforced. Like I said, typically, it's referred to as projector by a lot of teams. It's called meeting hall in the game, but projector just tends to be. We have a lot of projectors. We had it on the last map as well. In theater, some people call projector as well. Yes. Same with I was going to say there's like karaoke kind of one, sometimes referred to as projector even. On Skyscraper, yeah, the karaoke is called purple or projector as well. So I mean, those are definitely there. So yeah, there's a lot of rooms with projectors. Old Hereford used to have one as well, if I recall. So I mean, it's a very popular asset here that's brought out in a lot of maps. There's a lot of presentations that are happening in these training simulations, to say the least. It makes sense. My man will get picked off by Ghost, as Ghost went for a spawn peek and was able to pull it off. So losing the IQ early on will not be crippling given Elephant Gang's lineup. There isn't much that you necessarily need the gadget of IQ for, but it's still a potent fragger. And my man has good decision-making skills and is typically a good shot, and when he shows up big. He has sometimes disappeared from matches and has not really been as big of a factor, and he was certainly a very pivotal role or a very pivotal operator for Coastline as a player. Consulate so far, we'll need to see him be able to get back into that third round. Well, there's 3 people stacked up just trying to take Neptunes down. If he can even take one of them at this point, that puts him in a great advantage because, well, his job is done at that point. He can just play for time and get kills. But the pressure actually works out. Bosco, again, kind of the spearhead of this team at the moment, doing great work with that Zofia. Hopefully he's managing to save a little bit of utility as well for when they start to get towards down plant. But a minute and a half's been burned, and it's been 1 for 1. So still, I would give advantage to Elephant Gang here in this position. Yeah, I mean, they've got one C4 available. I think Avian has likely used his grenades. I would speculate. I could be wrong.
1 minute and 10 seconds, and you hear the first toxic canister will go off from Ghost. They will lose the Mira on connector, and now Trippin will just push inside of Consulate Office. Now, they've read this correctly. The push is going to be coming over from the admin side, so you don't really need to worry too much about pressure from the Consulate windows. Actually, a lot of teams have been taking more of an investment in the admin side of things as of late, especially Obey. And a big part of that is, well, you lose control of long desk and you make it very difficult for the defenders. And there you go. The defense have lost long desk. You'll see some of that wall will get opened up by the X-Kairos pellets. And Obey is just going to wait to see if anyone's going to rotate. Benji's on a great position out on the balcony to catch somebody as he stares all the way through connector. And it looks like Plant actually might be set to go down here, but Obey is just waiting. There you go. Benji takes out Ghost. Trippin eliminates Adam. There goes the diffuser. K9 eliminates Skies. And, well, 2v3. As you said, Elephant Gang was in a great spot there, Devin.
Yeah, and the fact that they have Maestro still able to play that long angle down the long desk is a great place to go in terms of spraying out. Unfortunately, Avian's attempt at countering Bosco, or I mean countering the Plant, is countered by Bosco. And a lot of time spent trying to fight this.
K9 gets down, but Bosco is not able to get the diffuser. Oh no, he is! Bosco getting the Plant down. K9 will have to give information. Trippin a 3-armor will now have to get upstairs as K9 could get picked up. But shotgun out for Trippin, possibly needing to take a long-range fight. He'll have the ACOG of Bosco at his back. Trippin gets in towards the bathroom, but Bosco is just playing keep away for the time being. Oh, Trippin will land quite a bit of shots. They are both so low. K9 gets finished off, and up Trippin will pop. He sees the Zofia, but Bosco pistol out. He is making this game his own. What a start for Dylan Bosco. Bosco, 7 kills, if I read that correctly.
Well, he's trying to make sure my man is not going to get that MVP vote, that's for sure. He is definitely, this is his map so far. And like I said, it was a shame to not see him on Blackbeard, but not ashamed to see the way he's playing Zofia in this case. It's definitely down to the rest of the team to be able to step it up a little bit, but nonetheless, Bosco's helped make sure that they won 2 rounds already on this attack, and finally the bomb site's going to change down to Garage, and as they give up on the console, usually you don't want to play a bomb site and lose it, you know, and play it a 3rd time. As at that point, you're kind of chasing after losses, and that's just not a good mentality to be in. You need to be in that sort of flexible mentality and switch off. Avian going to bring the first mute here, which I imagine is going to be used potentially to stop a lot of different drone positions we see it in, for example, and a lot of the vertical play. I mean, we always used to talk about how it was used vertically on Oregon, but, you know, this is the map that has the most, I think, vertical spots for Butte jammers to be used, and that's an interesting thing about it, is that when you play down a Garage, you can jam so many parts of the floor above just from the way you place it on raised spots, just because there's so many little things to climb up on downstairs in the basement, and how low the ceiling is when you're not down on the Garage part itself. So I imagine that's going to be a bigger concern than stopping the Garage from being open. So many teams now have just given up on the Garage and denying it with bandits or mutes, because there's so many ways to counter it now. Going back to even, you know, the very first seasons of this game, people have found ways to deal with those batteries, and with the way vertical play developed over time, even more so. It's just going to be a difficult thing to try and stop, so you can't stop it. It's more just playing against when they get it open. In this case, they brought double hard breachers, though. So instead of just going with the Thermite, they doubled down on that by bringing the Habana as well. But interestingly, Benji is actually going to bring the Dokkaebi this time. So we'll see if their ability to make those phone calls out is going to stop any of those late roams coming around, similar to what my man was doing before. In this case, it's most likely to be Neptune's probably on that. We'll see, though. So, but Neptune's in the moment, though, still helping set up as need be.
Yeah, and here you come up to admin once again, and well, two unsuccessful defense on console office will prep you to go somewhere else. Yeah, that's pretty sensible. So, yeah. Unlike the 2 kitchen setup, which we saw Obey won the second one in Coastline, they didn't lose 2 in a row and be forced to go elsewhere. I think that this is really showing that map choice plays a huge part. You know, you end up going to Coastline, which is a map that quite clearly Obey did not look very strong on. Most importantly, Bosco has 7 kills right now. I think at the end of the last game, his team's top fragger had 8 kills, which was him, if I recall. So he's really being able to put in good work here, and as long as he stays hot, it'll be very difficult for Elephant Gang to be able to make that difference. You know, another USN team had a performance with Redeemer on Space Station where he dropped something like 15 kills, or I believe he got an ace in particular. When one player gets hot, it's very difficult to deal with that. Yeah,
and again, it's not necessarily some kind of hot streak thing, but the confidence does play into a game of tactics as well as reflexes.
Bosco could get shut down early. He comes very close to seeing Trippin as that Mira of Elephant Gang just holding the angle through the doorway towards Spiral Stairs. Bosco's going to get double droned in. Oh, and Trippin's going to win that fight. So the carry of Obey, at least for this game, is vanquished. But Trippin will get traded off. Skies is there. The Hibana able to eliminate him with that bearing 9. So pulls out this SMG sidearm. And K9 will try to tussle, but won't land any shots. Both K9 and Avian have lost quite a bit of HP. So Elephant Gang not only down a member, but also currently with some open wounds.
But the upside is, yeah, they got away with those without dying, I think is the more important part, because there's only a minute or less than a minute left, and they're just now opening the garage. That actually leaves them in a good position. They have denial operators, they have the Maestro Evil Eyes still up, they have the smokes, they have I was going to say the C4 as well coming out from that. So it's just, I don't know, there's a lot to do still here to deny this. It's going to be on Adam to try and play this smart, because the rest of his team is upstairs at the moment. They've only got 30 seconds left if they want to do any rotations.
So they finally get those garage panels open. The mute jammers had been flummoxing them for a little while, but there was the IQ of the man diligently using his gadget to be able to eliminate those jammers. And now Ghost is going to try to go for as much plant denial as he can, but his toxic canister will miss. In walks Adam, gets a plant down just in the corner by the open panel, and well, he's going to get shot away at, but they won't get him down in time. Yes, they will. K9, the savior for this round, and Ghost pushing up. This is the best that Elephant Gang has. Ghost pulls out the SMG-11, and that's 2. Line him up, knock him down. Benji and my man fall, and Ghost will give Elephant Gang the round after some great play from the rest of his team, and the first victory for E-Gang in this matchup.
Yeah. I gotta love, too, that Ghost is running the Valentine's Day skin on his SMG-11, of all things to be running. But they're going to try console one more time, feeling a little more confident from that garage attempt. This does make me worry, though, that they don't have a good third bomb site on a map that now has 4 that they finally added and already had 3 good ones. I worry about their lobby defense that they just don't seem to have, although they could surprise with it on the next defense. Maybe they're just thinking they figured out the adaptations they needed to do from that defense to carry that on to console. We'll see, though, as you know, the lineups aren't going to change too much. Benji might go for the 6th pick again, but no, Adam's going to take it, who was actually faking a Twitch, which was a little different. He could be 6th picking over to the Thermite, depending on whether or not they feel like they need it. But again, I feel like the Hibana a better choice for this bomb site. No, he's going to play on the Jackal. That should work a little bit in their favor, although I don't know if roamers have necessarily been their biggest problem, other than if you think that's somehow going to help you take admin faster, which, yeah, maybe you can put some angles on the windows and be able to see those footprints somewhat safely, just due to the way the cubicles are structured, but it's still going to be difficult to get a lot of mileage out of that, I think, unless there's going to be heavy roam coming out from Elephant Gang.
Yeah, the bigger issue here for E-Gang, on that very first round, okay, maybe we can chalk it up to the fact that Trippin dropped unexpectedly in the final minute. The smoke had to rotate. A big part of your defense could have essentially just been removed by no fault of your own. All right, let's overwrite round number 1, and then we can focus to round number 2, which was console office being taken instead from the console office window side, instead from admin side. The bigger issue was that Obey did a good job of pushing Elephant Gang back, cornering them, and keeping them in one part of the site and then just holding angles. And every time E-Gang tried to engage, there was good coverage, be it from Benji, be it from Bosco. On that particular garage defense downstairs, once again, it looked like it was Obey in excellent shape. They had good coverage. Again, Ghost had been forced back. He missed his smokes, but K9 came out of nowhere, and I don't think Obey saw that. And once again, I called it a blind spot in that very first match, and I think there was yet another blind spot this time, too. So.
And I think some of that was down to the time management. With only 30 seconds left, I mean, yeah, you're pressured to make the plant, but it also means you have less time to check things like drones, to get things into position, to get in position to cover flanks. You are in a position much more focused on getting the plant down than on controlling the defenders outside of the ones that matter for getting the plant down itself.
Yeah, so I mean, 30 seconds to execute is definitely doable on Consulate if you've been able to bleed out most of their plant denial, but at the same time, I mean, K9 was plant denial just simply as an operator with an LMG. That's really all he was.
He used to be plant denial on Rook.
Yes. He's just been the guy that denies your rotates, he denies your pushes, and he holds those angles and shuts you down quite effectively. So we'll see what is going to happen here on console office upstairs from Obey's side of things. Are they going to attack the console office side, or are they going to go for admin? Now, usually you'll see an investment in admin, but there's a couple members of Obey over on console side, so I'm assuming this is going to shape up to be similar to the very first round.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of teams, like you said, want to take admin these days because it is a site that, or a site of the map rather, that you can take, and it's very difficult to retake. So that take turns into a lot more map control if you can at least hold down the long desk and then take control of projector and then push into connector. From there, you can kind of snowball things. Whereas trying to take from the console side, very risky because yellow stairs alone is such a risk for you. And you see the way that Neptune's playing, for example. But Avian with actually the first kill into Bosco. And again, we talked about how big of an impact kill that is when it's the first one. This round, again, hugely favoring. And there we go. That right there. Whew, Obey. Oh, good luck, Obey, on this.
That is a failure of somebody to drone. I don't know if that was my man's fault or I don't know if that was his teammate's fault, but there was no coverage there onto the Jaeger of Neptune's on yellow stairs, and the Jaeger will just now sprint off. Funny that Jaeger's name means hunter, and he is the one now being hunted.
By a jackal.
And so say goodbye to Ghost. So Benji, who had been repelled up towards console window, well, he gets a kill, and Skies on yellow stairs is there before K9 will just trade him off. More pressure on yellow stairs. There's the jackal, and K9 picks up a double kill. Doesn't even need to reload with the huge amount of bullets that you see from that LMG. That'll leave Benji as the last one for Obey. Well, he's got the smokes working. He's got the calls coming out. He can't control the SMG-11. He gets the downed Avian, but after clipping the bird's wings, it will be Neptune's as the Jaeger to get another kill for his team. And Elephant Gang have tied it up, sitting us at 2-2.
Well, there were some good frags in the middle there from Skies and Benji, but it just wasn't enough to turn around. I got to imagine some of the strategy for that was, so you saw them put a lot of pressure on console. They were bringing 2 operators that bring smoke canisters. I got to imagine the strategy was to just put some pressure a little bit on some of the other parts of the map, control the roamers a little bit, and go for a plant onto console with smokes. That's why you bring those 4 smokes. That's why you bring the phones as well. Because if you go to plant inside a smoke and phones are ringing, you can hear when they're coming on you. You can hear when they're trying to pressure you. It does give you some ability to identify where the defenders are without having to see through smoke. Not to mention the Jackal as well can ping them without having to see them through smoke if he's gotten those footprints. So I like the idea behind that, but unfortunately, their lack of control of yellow stairs early and the way that backfired on them definitely made that a lot harder to do, not to mention the fact that they had to deal with mirror windows as well. They're going to try a Ying for that this time, though. So rather than just go for the smoke, they're going to go for the full shock and awe, potentially. But they are not going to be bringing the other smoke operators. So instead, it's just going to be down to Candelas and Benji to bring those smokes. So we'll see if that works out, if they can live long enough on this push. K9 seems to be the one to usually thwart that, but it is an odd thing to see them then switch Avian over to the Maestro and K9 over to Legion, but this is the one bomb site they have yet to play, so it's definitely down to the strategy rather than preference at that point.
Not too surprising to see that Elephant Gang will go through their defensive role without seeing Tellers and Archives. It's the newest site that's been added to console, kind of a stealthy change that I think surprised a lot of people, as a 4th bomb site being added to console. It was never really something that was, I think...
Maybe I talked about it too much because of the way the rotations work.
I wanted to say that they have, it hadn't really been talked about or anything like that for the 3rd site or the 4th site on Consulate, but given the rotation site here, you have to go to 3 sites. It makes a lot of sense to see it. So, well, once again, admin control is going to be the first thing that Obey tries to take. There won't be much contention there, as for the time being. Elephant Gang are well far back, playing over top of B site inside a projector, which is where you anticipate at least one defender playing. Now, if I recall, it was either Obey or Strength who didn't have somebody positioned up there in a previous USN game, and that's problematic. You need to be able to hold that site for a couple reasons. Number one, you can completely cut off rotates by playing verticality up top. You're able to see through the floors. You can catch anybody coming in through spiral. You can catch anybody coming in through desk. You can catch somebody coming through the hallway towards bathroom. And most importantly, if there's smoke on the doorway, then you can give covering fire when the plant goes down. That's why you take it. But there you go, Avian upstairs, the Maestro, he's punished. Skies will get that kill, and they'll also flush Ghost out of Projector, and he'll have to go towards Connector, where there's some ADSs set up, so if he gets pushed, he does have some salvation there, but not too much, as Obey is doing an excellent job on drones and have been for the last couple rounds, other than that one misstep we saw from a man last round on yellow.
Well, at least they've been able to hold up here. Yeah, they got pushed off, and unfortunately losing Avian, I'd say, was a big impact here in terms of getting that down, because Bosco's taking barely any damage. They're open the angles they need to take the Projector control, flush Ghost out, but the fact that he's still alive along with his teammates pushed back a little bit, still having some top floor control, means they cannot securely set up for a plant just yet, because, yeah, you got the top floor control, you can help yourself be able to plant down in lobby. At least they have some smoke operators and the Ying to be able to help with that, but that's a much bigger room downstairs to try and Candela. That might be useful, say, for taking the bathroom to take control of it, but until they can get more solid top floor control, I'm not sure this can really turn into a plant yet.
No, and there you go. Adam's going to eliminate Trippin, so another member of Elephant Gang will fall, and you've got the hatch opened up. K9 and Ghost both knowing that the execute is going to be coming out sometime soon while their phones are ringing. Benji doing an excellent job with the disruption of Dokkaebi, but it's going to be well timed by these toxic canisters of Ghost just to be able to shut anybody down through the main doorway. Also, goo mines from K9 can possibly get in a little bit of damage and prompt any would-be diffuser from having to pull it out before they can actually go for the plant. Now, biggest problem here is that you're going to have ACOGs looking all the way through the main doorway, and, well, there's going to be Candelas at their disposal as well. They'll smoke off the cross, and there will go the Candelas. Bosco eliminates Neptunes from above. That was the Valkyrie who was playing off-site, and K9 and Ghost are essentially boxed out. Plank going down from Adam, and, well, K9's going to sprint in, but great coverage from Obey, and it's going to get locked out. Bosco doesn't die early, and with it, their fortunes change. Obey will emerge from that half 3-2.
Yeah, that's I mean, good use of the Candelas at the end. I was worried that they were not going to be that useful. I mean, Bathroom is the one spot where they were, but I feel like they were trying to hide the Legion right there by having Ghost peek everything and pre-fire, so they were concerned about the smoke, and the idea was that the Legion would be the surprise. K9 would come out of nowhere, get the shots on them, and then, yeah, that'd be it. But they just were not well prepared for the Candelas to blind both of them, the smokes as well, to make sure that when they could see, there was nothing to see. It was a good push because they just didn't have anything to be able to counter it since they had taken control of Projector. Good use of utility overall in getting the plant down without it being down to the last second there. And unfortunately, at that point, Ghost had used all his smoke canisters already, so had he even been able to see, still wouldn't have been able to do much about it.
A couple things that you saw going in the way of Obey there, and they did quite well, was it was essentially a 5v2. My man was, I believe, tasked with trying to find the Valkyrie of Neptunes playing from above, who was very likely trying to get back to site to give some support. But because there was such a huge numbers advantage in favor of Obey, they could hold every single angle. Yeah. Not only did they smoke off Bathroom, not only did they Candela Bathroom and the hallway as well, which, as you noted, might have hit both K9 and Ghost, but also they had two guns that were sitting through that main doorway watching that hallway. So if one missed, the other would connect. You had another body playing inside of the hallway by the bottom of Spiral Stairs watching into Circle Desk too. All the while, Adam is getting the plant down and there's no presence above the site from Elephant Gang, and that's just oftentimes an unwinnable spot to find yourselves in, especially when you've got your only remaining defenders coming from the same angle. Well, if there's two people watching that angle, it's very unlikely that you're going to be able to there's going to be able to be a way to fight yourself out of it, and that's just very tactical from Obey. Played well, and they've looked a lot better than they did on Coastline here, but now as we pivot towards Obey on defense, well, that's where they honestly, I think, looked weaker on Coastline. Yeah,
and they're going to be bringing out some variation here in terms of a Clash and an Alibi. So doing some things a little bit different. I mean, they're still going with, yeah, a Smoke and a Mira, but at the same time, I mean, those are two operators that either do a lot for you or a whole lot of nothing, depending on how you play them, because they're not, I would say, like a consistent play. That's why you don't see them picked every single time most of the time. They're just, you need them for a very specific strat, and sometimes that strat doesn't work. I mean, Skies is a fairly good Alibi player, and it's something you can play if you're very good at playing roam in terms of being flexible. You have the map knowledge because, of course, you're talking about earlier, for example, Skies would rarely play DLC maps. It was just, he knew the default maps very, very well, which is good for a roamer, especially one who's just trying to deceive you with holograms and things like that. But at the same time, it can get shut down and just leave you in a tough spot. I mean, it is nice, though, if someone shoots the hologram and then they're getting marked outside. It can make peeks a lot easier on a map like this that has a lot of peek ability. But top floor control going to come down, as per usual, through admin. However, this Clash is what they need to deal with, and they don't have really any utility to do that. They don't have the Zofia. They don't have the Capitao. It's going to be a tricky thing to deal with.
Unless my ears were deceiving me, Ghosted was able to light up a bunch of Skies, and Adam will lose some HP in his duel with Neptunes, but both Neptunes and Avian will be casualties 90 seconds in, halfway through round number 6. And two operators that can do a lot of work to remodel the site. Both Hibana as well as Buck gone.
That means they cannot open the garage as well, so you have to fight a bit top down, which Ghost taking that down. That is that is important kill right there, because now they can take top floor control. But a 3v4 without the ability to open the garage, and with some of your firepower down, this is going to be a tough fight to win, especially due to Dokkaebi not being quite as powerful on attack as he used to be. Still good, but just not as good, I would say. That almost made him walk through it there for a second. He's going to take it out, though. You always got to be careful, though. It is very easy to accidentally shoot the hologram and then leave yourself in a tough spot for a few seconds.
Yeah, it can be a bit of an issue for teams where you don't think you're going to hit it, but then you end up clipping it. So great timing for the toxic canisters. Bosco is going to use one onto the yellow stairs, which is going to funnel the rest of Elephant Gang into different areas, of which you will likely see somebody playing. Trippin doesn't know, but there's a body inside a server right now, and down the main hallway, Bosco will eliminate him, so you don't even need the body that's playing inside of server. Well, Ghost is going to try to take that fight. It's Adam, all cheeky, and his peeky will get Ghost, and K9 unable to land his shots onto Benji, and Obey are looking very good through Consulate. They're up 4-2, and we could end up seeing Border in just a couple minutes if this pace keeps up.
Definitely working out good for them on the start of this. I mean, they obviously came off the advantage as well on the attack rounds, but that was the first round, and the adaptation tends to happen from there, and things, I feel like, towards the last of the 5 rounds tend to be a little more iffy, especially when situations like it was for Elephant Gang where they were forced to their 3rd bomb site they definitely were not so great at. You saw when they finally brought out Lobby was not the bomb site they were as confident on. So definitely a situation like that. But a Lobby is one that they are obviously more confident on for Obey, as they're going to go to it for their secondary. So they're not even really focusing on the top floor so much. My man actually going to be going for that roam play again, but this time on Vigil. He's going to have Adam on the Jaeger. So that should be interesting. Neptune's actually sneaking off to the glass instead of having Avian do that, as his job is that Hibana. And Sky's going to do something similar on that he did to Coastline as well, which is play the Valkyrie. They're not going to bring that to Mute. And the Mute might have been to just make them think it was a different bomb site, because Mute is not super useful, I would say, on Lobby, unless you're, like, say, placing the jammers downstairs to try and stop a lot of the droning on that floor. So I can understand the mentality there to make them think you might be playing a different bomb site. Bosco.
I think that if you don't have a Bosco, just has been so good so far in these 2 games, unsurprising, and I expect the same thing out of Border. Both Consulate and Border have very fond memories of Bosco's return, which was during the Paris, or was all the way back during the 6 Invitational qualifiers, which is when he had been picked up by Era, if I remember correctly, joining that team back before they were known as Obey. Made a major name for himself, both as Blackbeard as well as Smoke, and that was really where the resurgence happened, and it was both Border and Consulate where he showed up, and he showed up big.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, the Skies had used in the past even as a replacement for Geo, who is a well-known player as well, just on some of the LAN events. So, you know, some history going between these guys as well. A lot of history for the players on Elephant Gang. So it is interesting to see Bosco still playing it strong like that, and it's good to see, as he is the captain of the team. So.
Yeah, and I have never actually been able to interview Bosco, so I'm hoping that if Obey ends up prevailing here and they do an interview, that it ends up being Bosco. Not that I want to set any expectations, because if it's somebody else, I'm not going to be disappointed, don't get me wrong. But
sad puppy dog face. Why
I have never interviewed Bosco.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because they don't do a lot of interviews, but
maybe he'll go for an interview at Vegas if they can make it.
Hopefully. So, anywho. Once again, on Lobby, you're going to focus on admin here, and it looked like Avian was actually going to see the first member of Obey, and that was the Mira playing there, and Benji will get spotted, lose a lot of HP, but he's going to be able to outduel Ghost as K9 fallen earlier on, and Plant going down for Elephant Gang. So if Neptune's going to hit these shots, but he can't, that'll be big for them. In the post-plant, this is all Obey. Skies opening things up, and it's Trippin now, who will just go for some shots through the doorway. The Commando will hit, but can the defuse go down? Well, Call's still rattling away, and Trippin is going to just get cycled out of the zone. If they're working on the diffuser, which they are, it's Benji there. Trippin going for broke, and well, that's going to be very easy. Match point for Obey. It's a rush for Elephant Gang, but Obey seems to have found their footing and bounced back quite gracefully. 5-2 in favor of Obey Alliance.
I got to credit that round to Skies, because the attack was actually fairly confident in terms of being able to get the potential plant down. You had the Glaz in the room there. Was a tough customer to deal with, including he was just about to get that pick through that wall towards near the bathroom door. But the C4 getting the kill on the Glaz made it a lot easier for Skies to then follow that up. But that was down to a lot of juking on his part. You saw him pretty much matrixing those bullets, dodging and weaving, trying to make that fight work in his favor. But because he won those 2 fights, that shut down everything that they were trying to do there. They were forced into a tough spot. The smoke started pushing them back. Trippin just could not land the shots he needed to, and it fell apart very quickly, all starting with that C4. So credit to Skies for that and shutting that down in what was, I would say, probably an unexpected attack from Elephant Gang that just unfortunately did not work out for them. And like you said, match point means Elephant Gang could be out of this fairly soon here.
Upstairs to console office we will go. On match point. So, look at Elephant Gang's lineup. It has not been working all that well for them. Obey have looked better through and through on both attack and defense here, and I think there's been a bit of sloppiness and too much haste that's been coming out from Elephant Gang. That round in particular, I think, a perfect example of how fast and how loose Elephant Gang were trying to play it. Now, that kind of thing can work on Coastline because of the way that Coastline is structured. Tons of environmental destruction. You can open those walls up. Usually the defenders will open up a lot of it for you. Consulate, not going to be the same. You have to commit a lot more to being able to open up those sight lines that on Coastline, they're naturally there. So that is a problem for Elephant Gang as well, because Obey playing more conservatively and Elephant Gang playing more aggressively might work on Coastline. Sure, the attackers are going to be able to bully you, they can do well. But on Consulate, there's no real given as to whether the attackers or defenders are going to do better inherently. Yes, typically the defense does quite well on Consulate, sure. It does rely a lot on operator bans, but more than that, it also relies a lot on the way that the teams play it, and Elephant Gang have not looked very tactical. They've looked a little sloppy when they've entered. They haven't been doing as much drone work to be able to set their team up with those opening picks, and Obey has just been there every step of the way, holding the angle, fighting for a draw, or being able to take you down before you even get into the building, and that is a problem for Elephant Gang right now. They only may have one round to fix this here.
Yeah, definitely the case there. I mean, obviously that may change up on border, because if what you were talking about continues on border, it may slightly favor Elephant Gang. But in this case, we'll see if we end up there sooner than later. They did manage to at least open the mirror window with that peek they had on the connector window. Now they're still getting a lot of pressure on the side here. They have the ability to throw in some extra smokes because they have, you know, a double smoke strat here along with the glass. But Trippin getting the early kill on Skies, I think, is a good start. That's the Vigil down. One less roamer you have to worry about. And Skies has been a much more effective roamer on this map than he was on Coastline. So that is a good start for them, but they've got to turn it into getting into the building a lot more. And this is the big problem, is we've seen teams entirely win or entirely die from outside this map, much more so than a lot of other maps. And now that they've got 2 kills with K9 getting Adam, maybe we'll see this at least go to 5-3 before someone closes it out.
You also just forced Bosco to use almost all of his toxic babes, but that is going to be it. And Bosco getting shot in the knee a couple times. Insert your arrow to the knee jokes, but from Glaz instead. He's going to get away, and well, Bosco, or man, is going to get caught, and that's going to leave just Bosco, who with a tiny bit of HP, still capable of fragging, but with Trippin down, he's got to find 4 more until these become even more impactful. He'll have to silence a phone, so it rings away, with the diffuser down successfully for Elephant Gang. So the most daunting prospect that Obey has had when they look on their attack, and while he's not getting past K9, nobody holds an angle better than K9, and from behind, Bosco will not anticipate the push, and just the patience as he stalks his prey. K9 getting the kill and says no thank you. E-Gang will be able to put a 3rd on the board, but still they have a gap to close.
Well, definitely a possibility, but at the same time, that was their 3rd bomb site. That was the one, much like Lobby was for Elephant Gang, that is their weakest. Now they go back to Garage, and if they have to, they can go back to Lobby as well. So this is where they have the potential to fairly easily shut out Elephant Gang, just because, well, this is they're better bomb sites. The flip side of that, of course, is that Elephant Gang have now seen the strategy on all 3 bomb sites, if it is repeated, and can make the adjustments they might need on those attacks. But it's just, I don't know, it's going to be a tricky one. This time, Avian, though, going with Thermite instead of Hibana, as they have an idea it's going to be Garage. And that's what I meant by these later rounds. You have a better idea. You can plan when to use Thermite. So I got to say, that is pretty much a demonstration of what we were talking about earlier, how you can bring Hibana earlier when you're not sure, and then go to Thermite when you're a little more confident. So that seems to be working out, at least in theory, for Elephant Gang, but they've still got to execute on it, because being on match point means they need to win 2 in a row just to bring this to overtime, and then still have to fight from there to win it. Which at some point they may just, I don't know, they may get tired of playing this map and just want to move on to what they might feel is a better map on border. I mean, obviously you don't give up a map, but at some point you start to feel like maybe this is turning into too much of a slugfest, and maybe we just need to, you know, try, and if it's not going to work, you know what, we're going to do what we're going to do, but we're going to focus a little bit more on map number 3.
And keep in mind that overtime rules that apply are the same as old overtime rules for most competitive leagues, which is that you have 3 rounds of overtime. It's a coin flip to determine which team defends twice and which team would attack twice. So that's something to keep in mind on maps where there's typically an imbalance as to whether attackers or defenders can win, but on Consulate, it's a mixed bag.
Well, it seems like Obey are very comfortable on either, so I don't feel like it's a situation where the coin flip really matters too much in that situation, just because Obey are favored to win those overtime rounds either way. With that being said, we've even got 2 more rounds potentially before we even get to that point. So they've definitely got to stick it together here on Elephant Gang. Again, they're going to continue with Neptunes on that glass because Avian has other jobs to do. K9 going to be watching instead on the Twitch like he was last round, but they get the garage open within 30 seconds rather than with 30 seconds left. So that's the exact opposite of what we saw from Obey.
Yeah, Obey will concede that ground very early and then just fall back. Now, certain teams will play this very differently. There could be a bull rush from the attackers, but more often than not, once you open that garage, you know that essentially what you've done is you flushed out most of the aggressive defender players. You can't play on pipes and on the back of pillar or yellow or white van for the entire round, because likely if the garage opens up in a 5v5, the attackers will commit somebody to possibly going down spiral. This is where your roam game is going to be very important, and if Obey has great map control, they can essentially deny Elephant Gang's ability to flesh out those pipes and the white van player.
Well, so far they're not even inside the building with a single attacker.
Yeah, so I mean, right now you see that there's the struggle. Once you've been able to do the beginning of your execute, it's transitioning into that mid, and then before you get the diffuse plant down, that's where things get a little bit hairy for these teams, and I think Elephant Gang, for the time being, is just patiently waiting. You see a lot of them are on drones. Trippin is trying to find out exactly where it's going or where the defenders are going to go. They're going to have to deal at some point with Benji. You've also got my man playing on the main floor just by yellow stairs, but oh, Skies, hello! Neptunes and Avian will be found, and they got to get through Skies first. Ghost will wait in, a C4 will miss. Skies looking for his 3rd kill, and Ghost is in. Another C4 will go out from Adam, playing on the bottom of yellow stairs. He's pushed up from pipes. Ghost will find Skies, and there you go. 2 from Obey will fall, and we're back at a 3v3. But my man, still unfound, takes out K9, traded off. Plant going down, will not go. It gets shut down. Trippin trying to get 2 bodies, but he's going to get double peeked, and that'll be it. Obey will take the round in impressive fashion. Skies starting things off and sparking that fuse on the bomb. Obey will advance to border. We're all tied up.
Seems like on those defenses, when Skies goes off, it seems to really shut down Elephant Gang, because he seems to go off on situations where it's critical to what Elephant Gang are trying to do, and that's usually the plan. I gotta credit though, Ghost baited out just about everything. He even walked into smoke to bait out a C4, baited out a second C4, and just he continued to bait out everything he could, and then rather than planting, took a fight onto the cafeteria hole. It was, I wouldn't say, I don't know if it was a good strategy, but it was one that was